Every single night, something happens inside your skull that scientists still cannot fully explain. Your brain essentially disconnects from reality, paralyzes your body, and begins generating experiences so vivid, so emotionally charged, that millions of people wake up genuinely unsure whether what they just lived through was real. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. Researchers have discovered that certain dreams leave measurable physical traces on the brain that persist for hours after you wake up. You carry them with you into your day without even knowing it. Welcome back to Mind Atlas. Tonight, we are going into the dark territory that sleep science rarely talks about in public.
Let us start with something that nobody warned you about. The average human being will spend roughly 6 years of their total life in a dreaming state. 6 years, not sleeping, dreaming. 6 years of your finite existence will be spent inside a world your brain invented, populated by faces and fears and landscapes that technically do not exist. And during those 6 years, your conscious mind has almost zero control over what happens. You are a passenger. Something else is driving. Scientists call the part of the brain responsible for this the default mode network, a collection of regions that become extraordinarily active the moment your conscious, rational thinking shuts down. But here is what is interesting and deeply unsettling. The default mode network does not rest when you sleep. It accelerates. It becomes more active during REM sleep than it is during your waking hours. Your brain is not quieting down when you dream. It is working harder than ever. The question that no researcher has been able to satisfactorily answer is this: working on what exactly? There is a phenomenon that sleep researchers have documented but rarely discuss outside of academic circles. It is called dream incorporation, and it goes much deeper than you have probably been told. Most people know that external sounds or sensations can bleed into dreams. Your alarm clock becomes a church bell. Someone knocking on the door becomes thunder. But what researchers discovered in the early 2000s goes further than that. Emotional residue from your waking life, anxiety, grief, unresolved conflict, does not just influence the content of your dreams, it restructures their architecture. Dreams during periods of high emotional stress are longer, more narratively complex, and contain significantly more strangers than familiar faces. Your brain deliberately populates your dreamscape with unknown entities when you are psychologically vulnerable. Think about why an organ designed for survival would do that. The leading theory is threat simulation. Your brain is rehearsing danger using cast members you cannot predict. It is stress testing you in the dark. But that leads us somewhere darker still. There is a condition called REM sleep behavior disorder that reveals something profoundly disturbing about the barrier between dreaming and reality. Under normal circumstances, your brain sends a signal during REM sleep that paralyzes your voluntary muscles. This is called atonia, and it exists for one reason: to stop you from physically acting out your dreams. In people with REM sleep behavior disorder, that signal fails. The paralysis does not engage. And what happens next is something that sounds impossible until you see the documented cases. People get up, they run, they fight, they scream, they carry out elaborate physical sequences, all while remaining completely asleep, completely inside their dream. One documented patient climbed out of a second-story window pursuing a dream narrative. Another delivered a 20-minute speech, word perfect and emotionally consistent, with no memory of it upon waking. The dream world leaked into physical reality, and the person had no awareness of either space simultaneously. Now, here is the detail that should stay with you. REM sleep behavior disorder is now considered one of the earliest biomarkers for Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. In some studies, up to 80% of people diagnosed with this disorder will go on to develop one of those conditions within 15 years. Your dreams are not just experiences. In some cases, they are early warnings from a brain that is beginning to misfire in ways that will eventually become impossible to ignore. The dream is sending a signal decades before any other symptom appears. Let us talk about something else that lives in the space between sleep and waking: a phenomenon that has been documented across every human culture on Earth for thousands of years. Sleep paralysis. You wake up, but you cannot move. You can feel the weight of your body, the texture of your sheets, the temperature of the air, but you are pinned, frozen, and then in the majority of reported cases, something appears, a figure, a presence, something at the edge of the room, at the foot of the bed, on your chest. Medieval Europeans called it the night hag. Japanese tradition named it kanashibari. In cultures across West Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia, there are specific named entities associated with this specific experience. The same experience, the same shadowed figure, described with chilling consistency across centuries and continents that had no contact with each other. Neuroscience explains this as a combination of vestibular motor hallucinations and hypervigilant threat detection firing simultaneously during a partially conscious state. Your brain detects that you cannot move, that you are by any physical definition helpless, and its threat detection system interprets that helplessness as an attack. It generates an attacker. The mind would rather believe there is a monster in the room than accept that it has temporarily lost control of its own body. That says something extraordinary about how deeply our neurology is wired for narrative, for cause and effect, for the comfort of having an explanation, even when the explanation is terrifying. Here is a fact that very few people outside of neuroscience research know. The brain does not actually know what it created. During dreaming, you experience events without accessing the memory of constructing them. You do not know you built the room you are standing in, the person you are speaking to, the emotion that is overwhelming you. Everything is experienced as received rather than generated. This is why dreams feel real, not because your brain lacks the intelligence to distinguish them, but because the part of your brain responsible for that distinction, the prefrontal cortex, is largely offline during REM sleep. The editor has left the building. What remains is raw experience with no metadata, no label that says this is fiction. Your emotional system fires in response to dream events with the same chemical intensity as real ones. Documented lab results show cortisol spikes, elevated heart rates, and immune response changes triggered entirely by dream scenarios that never happened. Your body does not get the memo, and this brings us to perhaps the most quietly disturbing thing sleep researchers have uncovered in the last decade. Dreams can be implanted, not in a science fiction sense, not yet, but in a very real, very documented sense. By exposing sleeping subjects to specific sounds, scents, or tactile stimulation during confirmed REM cycles, researchers have reliably steered dream content. In one landmark study out of MIT, subjects who wore a device that detected the onset of REM sleep and then played specific audio cues reported dreaming about those cues in over 67% of cases. But the darker implication came from follow-up research. The subjects did not just dream about the planted content, they formed emotional associations with it. They woke up feeling differently about concepts that had been introduced while they were unconscious and completely unaware. Their opinions had shifted. Their emotional landscape had been edited. They did not know. They could not know. Because the editor was asleep. What does it mean that the mind is most open to influence when it is furthest from consciousness? What does it mean that your emotional associations, the invisible architecture that shapes every decision you make, can be rewritten in a space you cannot supervise or remember? These are not rhetorical questions. They are live questions that neuroscience is actively grappling with. And the answers, when they fully arrive, are going to change how we think about identity, memory, and the strange sovereign territory of a sleeping mind. Every night you close your eyes, something extraordinary and faintly terrifying begins. Your brain rewires, rehearses, processes, and generates a private universe that you inhabit completely. You will forget most of it by morning. The traces that remain, the mood, the anxiety, the inexplicable feeling that something important happened, those are real. They shape your day. They shape you. And somewhere in that vast and poorly understood darkness, there are still answers that science has not reached yet. If you made it to the end of this video, your mind clearly craves the edges of things, the parts of human experience that most people would rather not think about too carefully. That is exactly what Mind Atlas is here for. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss what we find out there in the dark. We post every week, and we promise you, what is coming next will be worth the wait.